Welcome to another episode of Riding and Wrenching, the biggest little YouTube channel on the entire interwebs. I am your host, Q the Rider, and in this quick episode, I just want to make a public service announcement. I did have an issue with my bike while I was in Atlanta that I think it's important to share with the community. Now, let me tell you what the issue was. We'll start off with that. I was doing a U-turn on a residential street in front of my brother's house, and the bike turned off midway through my U-turn while I'm in a lane. And if you've done any slow speed riding, you know that when you lose power to the rear wheel while the bike is leaning, it's going to fall over. That's right, I dropped my bike. Boom, fell over. Oh man, but I'm fortunate that there was no traffic there. There's no damage to the bike. As you can see, it's got engine guards, they work, and I put the motorcycle drop guards on here. I had already installed my saddlebag guards, motorcycle drop guards there as well, and it also has the drop guard on the primary. No damage to the bike. I highly recommend the motorcycle drop guards. They don't sponsor my channel, but it's a product that I like, I believe in, and I highly recommend it to the community. Now, what happened? Now, this bike has an interrupt switch that's built into the kickstand. So if the kickstand is down, the bike will not start if it's in gear. This bike will only start if it's in neutral. If it's in gear, the kickstand has to be up. That's fine. The problem is if you have the bike running and you put the kickstand down, that will shut off the engine. Now, obviously, in the middle of my U-turn, I did not put my kickstand down. The sensor thought the kickstand was down, and it shut the engine off in the middle of my U-turn. Now, I was fearing that was going to happen because as I pulled into my brother's neighborhood, we still had several left and right turns, just navigating through his neighborhood to get to his house. Well, this warning came on the screen. It said, "Your kickstand is down." And I'm looking, I'm like, my kickstand is not down. And so I kind of kicked it with my foot, hoping that maybe I would register to the bike that the kickstand wasn't down. The warning stayed up there. I actually did put the kickstand down and put it back up, hoping that that would reset the sensor. It didn't. And now I'm riding through his neighborhood kind of panic because I was afraid that the motor was going to turn off at stop signs. I ran through all of the stop signs just to avoid having the motor turn off. And then the kickstand light would go off for a while, and I'm like, okay, great. And the kickstand warning light would go off, and then it would come back on. And then it would go off, and it would come back on. And I'm just in panic mode the whole time. I'm like, man, if this bike shuts off, I didn't know if I would be able to restart it. I didn't know if I was going to be stranded, because again, I'm in Atlanta, and I got to get back home because I got to go to work on Monday. I was actually a little worried about that. But I did make it to my brother's house, and by the time I got to the front of his house, the kickstand light went off. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So I'm just going to do a U-turn and go back and park my bike. Well, in the middle of that U-turn, that's when the kickstand warning light came back on, and bam, the bike shut off and it fell over while I was moving. Again, the bike is not damaged. I didn't get hurt. I thank God for that. That issue with the kickstand happened yesterday. So today is Sunday. It happened Saturday evening when we got home. After I picked my bike up and parked it, I turned it off. I let it set for a little while. I went and turned it back on, and the error never came back, or that error didn't occur again. And I got up this morning. Today is Sunday. Started the bike up. No issue with the kickstand warning light. And it didn't give me any problems all the way home. And that was roughly a 6-hour ride. So the bottom line is I think I reset whatever the fault was, I reset it by turning the bike off and turning it back on. I know a lot of bikes have that kickstand interrupt feature. I call things like that an idiot switch because, I don't know. I mean, I've accidentally taken off with my kickstand down, but it's never caused me any issues. Maybe it has caused issues for someone else, but it's never caused an issue for me. But as far as I'm concerned, my engineering mind tells me that if something is going to fail, I want it to fail in a safe way. Having the kickstand cause a moving bike to shut off. Whether you put it down on purpose or whether it's an accident, when the bike is moving, there's more hazard to turning the bike off than having the kickstand down, in my opinion. And I just don't want that. I don't need that help from a machine. They can delete that feature completely. And if there's a way to disable it, I would rather do that, because this kickstand, whatever the sensor is that tells the bike that the kickstand is down, what if it fails in the middle of a U-turn like it did for me? Except what if it's a couple of years from now? What if it's 5 years from now, 10 years from now, when this is a used bike and somebody else has it, and the kickstand, or this one or any other bike with that feature, in the middle of a turn, the bike is leaning, and the bike goes, oh my God, the kickstand is down. Kill the engine. Now, you can get somebody hurt. So I don't know. I would hope that they would rethink the design of that. You know, maybe on startup, maybe insist that the kickstand is up. But once the motor is running, don't turn my motor off for any reason, you know, unless the bike fell over. You know, I guess the idiot feature of the bike will shut itself off if it's tipped over. That kind of makes sense, because if the wheels are off the ground, the motor doesn't do you any good. But if the wheels are on the ground, the bike is moving, and the motor is on, do not shut my bike off for any reason. That's dangerous. So I really hope that that gets addressed, you know, because I was very nervous for a little while when I left. But then once I realized the kickstand warning light wasn't going to come back on, or at least I was hoping that it wasn't, and it did not, I kind of forgot about it until now. But man, just something to be aware of. Anyway, again, I'll share an update once I know something more, hopefully soon. So it's been about 2 weeks since I had the incident in Atlanta. I've ridden the bike a little over 1,000 miles since then, and I've not had a recurrence of that issue. I did take the bike into my local dealer, and they inspected it, and they couldn't find anything wrong, because they couldn't recreate the problem. You know, I'm not surprised. But I've done a little bit more digging myself and looking around on the bike, trying to understand how this switch works. And what I've discovered is that there's a magnetic switch that is triggered when the bike, or when the kickstand is lifted up or down. And I'm going to show that to you in just a moment so that you can see and understand how it works. But the key thing that I want to share is, if something like this happens to you, it's probably a good idea to just pull over. As in hindsight, that's what I should have done. That would have been the safer thing to do. But my concern was that if I pulled over, I did not know if the bike was going to start again. You know, and I don't know. You know, maybe the switch had gotten physically damaged, or had it been physically damaged, the bike might not have restarted. I just don't know. But it's still probably the best thing to do to put yourself in the safest position possible if that kickstand warning light is triggered while you're riding and you know the kickstand is not down. So anyway, let me go ahead and demonstrate to you what I discovered about this switch. Let's take a look. All right, so as you can see, the bike is on, and you see the kickstand warning light here. And this kickstand warning light pretty much disables everything on the screen, and you can't do anything. Now, if the kickstand is up, the warning light goes away. Kickstand is down, warning light comes back, and if the bike were running, at this point it would shut down. Now, the next thing I'm going to show you is what happens when you take a little washer like this and you set it on top of that magnet. So the magnet is located right here. All right, so this is about the best angle I can give you to show you where the switch is located. So this is your left rider floorboard. This is the horn. This is my toe shifter. So this is the kickstand here. This is where the kickstand swings. And right here, this is the little magnet. So if I take my washer and I set it on top of that magnet, magnet's going to hold it, and now the bike thinks that the kickstand is up. And now you can see the kickstand is down and the warning is gone. So technically I can start the bike while it's in gear. Again, I can put the kickstand down and up and down and up, and nothing changes. So it's possible that something flew up from the road and interrupted that switch in an unfortunate way. I don't know what would have done that, but that's my theory on what could have happened, or I don't know. I really don't know if that's what caused it or not, but it's the only thing that makes sense to me right now. So that's all I have. Just wanted to share that with you. If you happen to have some type of kickstand warning light that comes on while you're riding, what I'm going to do next time is just pull over because I think that's the safest thing to do. Find a safe place to pull over, and just know that once the bike drops below 10 miles an hour, the minute you pull that clutch in, it's going to shut the motor off. I don't think there's a lot that can break with a magnetic switch unless it gets hit by something, or maybe some road debris interrupts it, or maybe the wire gets damaged or something like that. I don't know. That's the only thing I can think of that would damage something like that. But again, if it happens while I'm riding, I'm just going to pull over next time. It's better to do that than to try to do a U-turn or some left or right turn that's going to put you in a more hazardous situation. And I would imagine the same thing holds true for any other bike that has this type of kickstand interrupt. It's not just Harley Davidsons that have these things. Lots of bikes do. I don't know that they all work the same way, because personally, I don't think it's a good idea to kill the power or shut the motor off to a bike that's moving. I think that's a bad idea under any circumstance, but I don't know what design considerations were made for adding that feature. Personally, I don't like it. But that's all I have. Come check me out on the 2023 Harley CVO Facebook group. We got a lot of great riders there, and we're sharing a lot of good information. And if you want to learn more about these new bikes, that's a great place to do it, from people who are actually owning these bikes, riding them, and putting miles on them. This is Q. I'm riding, I'm wrenching, I am out.